Hello and welcome to etbfsi.com. My name is Amol Teke, and in the special period of lockdown, we have a special series where I'm unlocking the BFSI leaders in the special segment. And today I have with me Mr. Nitin Chugh, the MD and CEO of Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. Mr. Chugh, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Amar. Pleasure to be
Uh,
here.
Great. To begin with, Mr. Chugh, my basic question is you all are under lockdown. Most of the financial executives, financial professionals, including MDs and CEOs, are working from home. I know that you are now working from the office, but how has it been for you? How is it going for you? Managing your team. I'm sure most of the team is working from home, and coordinating. There must be some organization operational issues. So, how are you actually working in the lockdown? How are you managing yourself?
See, we kind of you know made compulsory work from home compulsory from 24th itself. Okay, just the day before the lockdown. We were trying this out for about 2 weeks before the lockdown happened because there were restrictions in a lot of other states, and we were getting advisories from a lot of places. So we had tried out this whole shift system where we did not want more than 30% attendance in the office, and we were trying this out for 2 weeks prior to the lockdown was actually effective. So we were very well prepared. We had also set up a quick response team about 2 weeks before the lockdown happened, a little before that actually. So we were able to take decisions. There was an empowered team which was able to stop the situation on the ground by location. And on 23rd of March, we just took stock. We decided to suspend our operations on the field, even though the lockdown hadn't been announced from 25th because that was announced on 24th night. Uh, so I think our level of preparedness was very high. We had already given access of working from home to a lot of critical functions. The VPN access, we went through a security drill. We tried out all the combinations of who needs to come to work and who doesn't need to come to work. So when the lockdown was effected, I think we were completely prepared. We had anyway suspended our field operations. We also put a pause on the disbursals, and subsequently we just kept connecting on the phone. There were critical functions which were given access through VPN, and we continued to make sure that the payments and the operations and all of that was always made available. At the same time, we obviously have to keep the branches open because we are part of essential services. So we rostered that. By that time, there were guidelines also issued by IPA and a lot of local administration. SLBCs started to come with reduced timing for branches. So we affected that. We started taking calls within the regions also in terms of which branches, with how many people, who all rostered. So we were like continuously connected from the day the lockdown started, and we were taking calls like 3-4 times a day. The team was completely empowered. I think in a day or so that realization, uh, dawned on everybody that yeah, this is how it's going to be for the next 3 weeks. Subsequently, we went about just talking to people. We instituted two things at that point in time. One was that we obviously had to support the branches and support the payment operations. The first thing was that how do we look after the employees? So the first decision that we had taken on 23rd itself was that we advanced the salary credit to our employees. Normally we pay on the last day of the month. In the month of March, we paid the salaries on 24th itself, just in case we thought that in case there's going to be a lockdown partially or totally, people should be able to have money in their account if they want to use it. So we did that as the first thing. Then we started connecting with employees. We also asked the employees to connect with customers. So we started a huge program of connecting with our customers through our field force because they were all at home. And that has really been very, very useful because one is that we started first by, communicating to customers about COVID, about the symptoms, about what they need to be careful about. Initially, our feedback was that a lot of people in the rural areas were not fully familiar, but over time we realized that they were completely aware. But we also tried to play a role in terms of making people aware and what kind of precautions. We also came up with a option of doctor consultation for our customers, a free doctor consultation. So we tied up with somebody and we offered that to our customers. And as of now, I think we are close to about 3 million customers we've covered. We've spoken to that many customers through our teams. Now we are also obviously assessing, any kind of distress in their economic activities, etc. In the meantime, on 27th of March, RBI announced the provision of the moratorium. So then we quickly worked on that over the weekend, took the board approvals, came out with the policy, and Monday we announced the moratorium to also almost 99% of our customer base. And the next week then went into communicating about the moratorium. We reached out to a lot of our customers in the non-microfinance business, especially housing and business loans. We, found out, who all wanted the moratorium, who all did not. We ended up speaking to almost all our customers out there. And during these conversations, we were also taking feedback. At the same time, we were also connecting with our employees at the regional level. There were multiple calls that were going on. We were keeping the board updated. We were taking inputs from them. And during the middle of that week, after we announced the moratorium and communicated it effectively, we started working on all the things that we wanted to plan for future. So we created many teams within the bank. We started to work in those cross-functional teams about, what are the new projects that we would have planned during the year, but can we fast track them? How can we fast track some of our digital initiatives? How can we make some of those things available right now while we are in lockdown? At least keep them ready so that when we go back to normal ways of working, we don't waste any more time in planning. So we actually spent a lot of time through these cross-functional teams, and that continues to happen even now, in building our capabilities for the post-crisis environment. And that is really where the focus is right now. We were obviously, keeping a watch on everything else that was required to be reporting to the regulator on a regular basis. And I think by the end of that week, the whole rhythm had set in terms of, how this works and which all calls and how many people we need to speak to. There was a schedule. In fact, most of the days were completely packed for all of us. And we didn't find, anything which was missing other than the fact that we were not meeting face to face. But I think we went through that. And then last week, we also decided that since banking is allowed to operate and our people were going to branches all this time, we were taking feedback from them in terms of how many customers are coming to the branches, the situation on cash in the ATMs, etc. We also thought it was important that there should be a team of senior people who should be able to support them, even from the head office. So we've reinstituted a shift kind of system, not really a rostering, but the senior team has started to come to office for a few hours. It's voluntary, it's not compulsory. So anybody who still wants to continue working from home is also okay. At least we are available to take decisions. We are able to, talk to our people and also, you know, be there to support them in case they need anything. So that's where we are. It's not been so much of a problem. Yeah, we are in good control because we've been in touch with our customers and our employees both.
One important question that I would like to ask you here is, obviously you are an essential services, and unlike many other banks, you are also working. What are the major disruptions are you seeing, in the banking services? And the second part of the question is, taking cues from what the moratorium actually brought to the citizens. How many customers from you, I mean, Ujjivan Small Finance Bank, actually availed the moratorium benefit?
So, like I said, Amol, we've given the moratorium to all. Okay, so our micro banking customers, we've given it to all because there was no way of going and taking consent because that would have required a field interaction, which we are not doing. Now, when we are talking to customers, a lot of them are telling us that I didn't need this. I could have paid you. I can still pay you. Okay, so we've told them that, good that you can pay us, good that, you don't have so much of a problem. But we will be able to come and collect that only when we start the field operations. But at the same time, we are also encouraging customers to move to digital repayments. We had a small proportion of customers also paying us digitally, but that is something now we have a chance to, really scale that up. And customers are also obviously willing and happy to listen to us when we like this. How will it change if you have to qualify the change that is likely to happen? I think we do believe that the discretionary spends will obviously get impacted, like the way everybody is trying to project. But we also believe that in our portfolio, because we deal with the unserved and the underserved, most of them cannot stay economically inactive for a long time. And that is what we're finding out when we are talking to them, that they are going to come back to their levels of economic activity as soon as possible. So we are optimistic. Obviously, there's going to be an impact which we'll have to study, and we'll have to obviously, keep a very close watch on that. But to what extent, it's hard to say right now. Uh, but we should be prepared, at least because we are talking to our customers on a regular basis. We will have a very good handle on that.
Okay, and that comes to my last question, which I'm very curious to ask the BFSI leaders and try to understand how the strategy will be post lockdown. obviously the bankers are very important when it comes to the disruption into the the BFSI world, and small finance bank like yours, the payment banks and the fintechs have created enough disruptions in the world. But the COVID-19 is the biggest disruptor, and it brought a lot of innovation. So I want you to tell me what is the biggest lesson that you learned out of COVID-19, this particular lockdown, which you are going to implement going ahead, perhaps once the lockdown is over and everything is normal. That is one part of the question. And second part of the question is, how do you see the economic, the financial situation of the country going ahead?
Okay, see, disruption has been used, and since you handle the digital properties of ET, you know this better, Amol. That disruption has been a narrative for maybe 5 6 years now. In different ways. Okay, so earlier we were talking about digital disruption at scale, or in pockets, or in something. That is something at least I have gone through in my previous role. A lot. Even now those discussions keep happening as to what is digital disruption doing to banks. Okay, so I think we are engineered as financial services, and I'm not talking about Ujjivan specifically. Financial services and banks have been through disruption and the narrative of disruption for a very long time to be able to prepare themselves for any kind of disruption. Now, I agree that COVID-19 is a very, very mass scale disruption, and it is not restricted to banking. It's the entire economy and the entire population and across the world. It has to be dealt in a manner that people collaborate with each other far more than ever before. So one of the examples that I can give you is that, for example, all these small finance banks, they are collaborating very closely with each other. So one set of calls that we keep happening is also within the small finance bank community. There are cross functional groups of CEOs which have come together, and there are people who have helped those groups come together either through webinars or through Zoom calls or whichever way, to share views, to share ideas, to share experiences. So people are trying to learn from each other, and not just restricted to India, even outside India. So I've been a part of a few of those calls, which has helped me also understand what challenges people are facing in other parts of the other industries or other parts of the world also. The third thing is that, most importantly, because we are talking to our customers very, very, in a very focused manner, and that's how we've been able to cover nearly 3 million customers, we are getting very good first-hand information about what is going on. Okay, to the extent that, like I said, that initially we had to even communicate about COVID symptoms, because even that was not very familiar with people, 3 or 4 weeks ago when we started this whole effort. So, in all of this, the biggest learning that's coming out is that people need to collaborate irrespective of whether they are in banks or in small finance banks or in microfinance or in NBFCs or in any other industry. People do need to come together. They need to obviously collaborate to at least share ideas if they can't directly help each other. But I would imagine there is a chance to even help each other, to some extent. The second thing is that this is also a big realization, not so much for Ujjivan, because Ujjivan has always been very close to its customers, that this is the time to really show your empathy towards your employees and customers. I know there has been a narrative in the overall economy and participants in the economy that there could be job losses, there could be salary cuts, or there could be whatever else. But there are equal number of people who believe that it doesn't need to be done. Okay, we need to look after our people, we need to look after our customers. Okay, so this is not the time to do things which otherwise would look very normal and rational, because at the moment they will look like irrational things. But at the same time, this is also a chance to make all of us very efficient. And there are very clear learnings which are coming out saying that how can we be more efficient than what we were ever before. And that, I would think, on the overall enterprise side, that would be a very good learning for all of us, including Ujjivan, that how much more efficient can we become in if we've been through this crisis, because we have evaluated and looked at pretty much everything. Okay, like the way I mentioned, we've set up these teams. Our teams are coming up with so many ideas. We've involved our entire workforce. Our people are giving us so many ideas. Like today I have a call with the South regional team, okay, the entire workforce. We asked them to send their questions to us ahead. I already have about 40 questions that have to be answered. And in the call, there'll be another 50 questions that people will ask. And these questions there are some questions and there are some are suggestions, because people are also coming up with new ideas saying that can we do it this way, can we do it that way. So uh, I still continue to believe that yes, we will make an impact, but we will the crisis, and we have found out many new ways of doing things in a far better and more efficient.
Right, Mr. Chuk, quite interesting. It was really nice pleasure listening to you. In fact, it was really comprehensive insights, and thank you so much for talking to TBFSI.com, and thank you so much for sharing, those insights. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, my dear readers and viewers, for watching. Please pardon us if you find any technical glitches in this video because this has been shot while working from home under the limited infrastructure. But stay safe and stay connected to ETPFSI.com. Thank you so much for watching.